Hello, let's talk about prioritization and understand what is this fuss about prioritization all about, because typically this is one of the most common questions that are asked to me. I would say prioritization is a mix of science and art, because over time, over experience, you will gain certain very interesting um, knickknacks about how to prioritize, what should be prioritized, and what are the nuances, what are the issues that can come up with certain stories which is not so apparent. So when we are discussing road mapping, we would discuss strategizing and prioritizing the features, user stories that need to be tackled and completed first, right? So there are multiple ways of prioritization. I will be covering four of them in this session. The first one is value versus complexity quadrant. The second is Cano. The third is weighted scoring, and fourth is the Rice method. Now, different companies have their own preferences, their own approach. You When you enter a new company, it'll make sense for you to find out what method of prioritization is being used and how exactly it is being used. That is number one. And if you are the person who will be the first product manager, let's say, then it makes sense for you to identify which one is needed at the stage of the startup or the company that you are entering. Because these four methods have they work differently for different scenarios. Some require more data, some require less data, some are comfortable with a little bit of uh, specificity, and some of them are not so comfortable with vague numbers. Right? Let's start with the first one. So, value versus complexity quadrant. What we are looking for essentially is effort benefit against each other. Okay. In an ideal world, you would want your features to be in the top left square. Okay. That the effort is minimum, but the benefit is high. Okay. Least effort and most benefit, immediate ROI. That's like the ideal thing, utopian world. But we do not live in an ideal world, so you would want to try and keep your features and tasks in the yellow and green regions. If a task falls into the red region or even lingers near the border of the yellow and red region, this feature or task needs to be refined, and preferably you won't pick up that task. Okay, so this is how you can prioritize. You pick up the feature, you look at its benefit versus effort, and then you decide whether you want to do this or you don't want to do this. The second is a Cano model. The Cano model revolves around basic needs, satisfiers, and delighters. There are two axes. One is the satisfaction axis, the second is implementation axis. So the idea is that if there are certain features which are basic needs. So when they are fully implemented, they will not lead to any kind of additional satisfaction or dissatisfaction for the users. But if it is not implemented, then the users are going to be very very pissed, right? For example, if you enter a certain hotel and you switch on the geyser, sorry, you switch on the shower, and if the hot water is not there at 2 o'clock in the night, you'll be very very pissed, right? You will maybe call up the manager, you will do whatever you needed to be done to get the hot water. But as against that, if you switch on the shower and hot water is there, you're not going to praise the manager, praise the hotel too much. You're not going to land up on TripAdvisor to start talking about, wow, I used hot water on at 2 o'clock in the night, it was amazing, and so on, right? So that is what the basic needs versus performance needs or delighters mean. That basic needs are simply basic, they're taken for granted, right? So features categorized as basic needs are must haves and must be developed first. Failing to do so would cause the product to fail. Then we have the satisfiers. These are good to have but not necessary. Inclusion of these features ascertain a constant growth in the customer base. And lastly, the delighters. These are not necessary features but can be included. With these features, you would attract a very specific group of customers. Let's talk about an example. See, I have an Android phone. What are the basic needs? Ability to call, ability to text. What are the satisfiers? Ability to click photos, ability to listen to music. And what are the delighters? Well, ability to send multimedia messages or nowadays animated emojis, these are all delighters. These are not needed. They will not change your life as such, right? And over time, delightful innovation becomes another basic need. Like for instance, 5 years, 8 years back, when Uber launched with a real time view of where the cab is, that was a huge delight. A lot of people I know ended up booking Uber and canceling it just to see that cab move in in that map, and that was a delight feature. But now, and at that time, a delay of 5 minutes or delay of 10 minutes or delay of even 20 minutes to get the cab was okay, because the overall feeling of pushing a button and getting a cab was enormous. But over time, when things got commoditized and things got very normal, now nobody is like, everybody takes it for granted that yeah, the cab is coming and I can see it on the map. That's okay, not a big deal, right? And if you have to wait for 10 minutes, that's a massive, massive thing, right? Because the delighter has moved from being a delighter to a basic need. Another way to prioritize is weighted scoring. So there are teams which are very quantitative in nature. Since for such teams, weighted scoring works the best. Okay, so I've in this table I've chosen customer engagement, user experience, sales funnel, and operation efficiency as the criteria. You can choose anything else that matters. Okay, and then you can give them weights according to your uh, whatever suits your situation. Now the features that need to be prioritized are listed. I have three features: new mobile app, monthly report, new one-click button. Now for each of the features, I score them for each criteria depending on the impact the feature will have. For example, in my opinion, the score for a new mobile app under customer engagement is 90 over 100. This means that I feel by having a new mobile app, the customer engagement will increase by leaps and bounds. In this way, you score all the features against all the criteria as shown, and then you calculate the total. The total comes out to be for the new mobile app as 50. In this way, after calculating, I see the monthly report has the highest score of 52, and that means I will tackle this feature first. So I'll do monthly report first, then new mobile app, and then new one click button. And this is a very high level estimate. Obviously, you can go deeper. Um, but typically, at a story level, it gets very difficult to do weighted scoring because the story is too small, so you cannot exactly imagine the impact that just this story is going to create. So typically, on a epic level, this works really well, but on a story level, it gets a little difficult. But yeah, it depends on how you have written the story. Next comes rice method. This is another very popular method and it works decently well for user stories at the user story level prioritization. It is a little quantitative in nature. So R stands for reach, I stands for impact, C stands for confidence, and E stands for effort. So reach is basically number of people or events per time period. Effectively, it's basically some quantification of the reach that you will have because of this product or this feature or this story, whatever you're talking about. Okay, so number of people per events per time period. So customs per quarter, transactions per day, anything. Okay, so let's say of every 500 customers who visit the website monthly, only 30% of these customers choose to sign up. Then the reach is 30% of 500, which is 150 customers per month, right? So R stands for reach, and you have to quantify the reach that you're expecting by launching this feature. I stands for impact. So whatever is the so in this particular example, I've spoken about conversion rate, but it could be any other impact that matters to you. So impact to the core KPI, the core metric that you are tracking, and you will use a scale of 1 to 10. C stands for confidence. That is, for the reach and the impact estimate that you've given, what is your confidence level? Is it 10% or is it 90%? Right? So level of confidence about the estimates you have made, and you'll mark them as a mark it as a percentage. And then finally, E is the effort, that is total amount of time and resources needed. Let me give an example. So epic is, let's say, as a customer I want to be able to have wish lists so I can come back later and buy the products. um, the user story is, user story 1 is, as a customer I want to be able to save products to a wish list so that I can come back later and view them. User story 2 is, as a customer I want to be able to save products to a wish list so that I can come back later and purchase them. And the third one is, I want to be able to save products to a wish list so that I can share them later and with my friends and family, right? So let's say the reach according to the first one, which is just coming back and viewing them, is the most high. Let's say it's 800 because almost everybody would like to view it. The second is the impact. So what is the impact of just coming back and viewing? And not so much, it's suppose. It's not going to move my conversion rates too much, it's suppose. So impact is 2. Confidence is 50% about my estimates, because there's a good chance that there's an off chance that a lot of people would actually just view, and because of more viewing, there's a good chance that I might end up that they end up purchasing. Effort needed is just 1. So rice, if I use the formula which I mentioned in the first slide, reach into impact into confidence over effort. Okay, if we just use that, then the number comes out to be 800. Similarly for user story 2 and user story 3. User story 2, the reach could be lesser because a lesser number of people will be purchasing as compared to viewings. That's why the difference. And user story 3, it's 2000 because uh, from the looks of it, a lot of people save the wish list so that they can share with their friends. But then that also depends on what kind of products are we talking about. If you're talking about clothes and clothes or those kind of items, typically people like to share. But if it's gadget, people typically don't share too much because gadgets information is already out there. um, but that depends on the product to product, completely depends on that. What is the impact, and then finally what is the confidence of our estimate. Using this, you can create a number which is rice, which is 800, 675, and 400, which basically means user story 1 is uh, and so rank 1 is user story 1, rank 2 is user story 2, and rank 3 is user story 3. So these are just the 4 methods of prioritization. There are many other methods also that are available, but I'll suggest that don't bother too much about how many methods exist. Simply pick one of these methods and start working with it. Once you have done couple of prioritizations or prioritization exercises using one of these tools, you will understand the pros and cons of it. You will have an interesting intrinsic understanding of how these tools work, and you will be able to pick the one which works the best for you. Okay, so don't worry too much about the entire universe. Just pick one of the tools that works for you right now, and then go about prioritizing one by one. That's it.